think that was Kerry sneaking in. Is that you, Kerry?
Yeah.
Come and say hello.
Are you online?
Yeah. Kerry's just been out to lunch and I think she was sneaking in. She didn't realise that I was going to be doing a live. Come over, say hi. Hang on. I'll just put this on. Say hi, everyone.
Hi. Well, you obviously don't want pizza then.
No, a little bit later.
Okay.
All right then. No worries.
I'm
Bye.
out of here then.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go back. There's quite a few here now. I had a problem with the sound. I actually had it wired up this morning to do that other talk, so that's why it cut off. So we'll start again. Did you all come here so I can take your soul and your camera? Pattern photographers after my camera. Your audio went away, but it's back now, hopefully. Mick's saying flip out screen and touch screen, so that's going to be interesting to see if that is on that camera, and I'll discuss that in a minute, what I think it hopefully will have. People saying they can't hear me, but yeah, it should be back up now. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to switch over to this page that shows this rumour, because I'd like to sort of... Now, remember, this is only a drawing that someone has come up to say that they think what they'd like on it, and I think it's got a lock button in the middle in here, custom buttons and things like that they're all saying. Lock everything, pressable switch. But the interesting thing is here, it's saying he's got it from a reliable source, the same source that actually is talking about the new 24mm 1.4 GM lens. Let me just move this down a little bit. And they've also, I did notice that this the other day, that the first time that I actually saw this come up was when we, I noticed the a6500 Facebook group had changed to the a6700 and a6500, and I'll show you that group here, because that was the first time I thought, whoa, are they jumping the gun a little bit with this? But I noticed in here that they've actually changed this group name from a6500 to also a6700 in brackets. This is the Sony Alpha one. I think it's their page that they've set up for this a6500. But it shows that they're predicting that this is going to happen. No one's sort of saying yet for sure when they think it possibly will happen. But I've just been going through some of the comments back in the other page here, and, a lot of people are saying different things, talking about, would you pay $1,700 for an APS-C when you can get the full frame for $2,000? And that's this comment down here. And the thing now is, and we'll go back to the chat because I'd be curious to know what you guys think about this as well. Do you think now you would be interested in going back to, say, an APS-C? Do you think there's still that marketplace for that? Or do you think now the A7 III has really put a dent into what they might offer for that package? I'm still going to keep my A6500 that I'm using right now, because I really do like that on gimbals, and I've mentioned that before. For me to buy another A6700 or A6500 camera, it would have to have things like 4K, probably 60p built in. I'd love them to bring out a fully articulating screen like my GH5 had. Now, whether that will happen, I'm not sure, but I would love that to be involved with that camera. So if they gave me, say, a fold-out screen and 4K 60p, that would be like the ultimate vlogging camera that you could buy, basically, for that type of thing. It's lovely and small. You could see yourself if you're doing vlogs in it, things like that. Do you believe, and put down at David Osa in the chat, because I'd love to have a chat with you guys about this. Do you believe that Sony is going to do that in their next camera? I'm a bit of a believer now that, I'm just going to turn this volume down a little bit. I am a bit of a believer now that I do think that Sony is going to have to offer something pretty special on that camera now, because otherwise I think you probably would be better off to just pay the little bit extra and jump up to full frame. After using that camera yesterday, the A7 III, I can tell you that camera is outstanding. And I did post that quick video today to show the IAF. And I'm going to be posting in the coming days. I'll try and work on it tomorrow, but I will be posting some video from that and some stills from that. The only part from the stills that worries me is I can't really put anything up with, because I can only show JPEG at the moment. But overall, that camera was outstanding yesterday for me. And I will talk about it as compared to the A9, as against the A7 III and things like that too, in upcoming reviews as well. But I'm just wondering now, because that A7 III is so reasonably priced and it's giving you so many good features, would you buy an A6700? So let me know what you think. And like I said, if you read through some of these chats, and I'll put this link down below, but if you do read some of the chats, it's interesting to say that what some people are looking at. Some people are saying that they're doing this because Canon are going to release their full frame camera later this year, and Nikon probably will. Now they're going to release it. I don't think it will be released this year. It probably will be announced later this year, and perhaps they're releasing this to combat that. I don't think they really have to, because I'll be very surprised if anything Canon release or Nikon release at the moment can match something like what the A7 III has, and what the A7S III is definitely going to have when that's announced sooner or later. So I'm not really sure now what I want to do. I'm not really certain whether I would like to get something like an a700, or whether I would probably go and get an A7S III. So again, put that in the comment box as well, because I'd be curious to know what you guys think about that. You know, do you really sort of think this still has a market? Still has a market? I've noticed an awful lot of people are selling their A7 IIIs, their A6500s and the A6300s to buy the A7 III, and that seems to be becoming really common now. There's a lot here for sale now, and you can see in a lot of the Facebook pages and all that sell gear, there's a lot of the A6500s are being sold. So people are getting rid of all of their APS-C stuff. And do you think then they would want to go back to that? There's a couple of areas where I think this camera could have a good marketplace. I do think it could have a good marketplace if they offer this as the ultimate vlogging camera. And like I said, I think if Sony don't release this with a fully articulating screen, they've probably missed the boat on this, and they're going to have to be very careful what they offer with this one, because like I said, if it's anything similar to what you're getting with an A7 III, you really would want to jump up to the A7 III just for the full frame advantages that gives you. So, you know, if it's a similar price range, you would just jump up. So it's going to have something that's different to that, like the fold-out screen, the 4K 60p. And then where does it place it against the A7S III as well? So there's some really interesting times at Sony at the moment. It's very exciting, but I'm just curious to know what's going to happen. Let's bring up the chat box, because I'm curious to know what you guys have to say all about this. So fire away, guys, if you can, because I'm really curious to know. Tony's in here saying hi. Hi, Tony. Richard's here as well. Harold said definitely an April Fool's joke. You never know. What else have we got? Dual Pixel AF, JK said, APS-C has room to improve. Yes, it has. I'm just wondering now, like I said, where this sits now in the marketplace after using the A7 III yesterday. It'd be hard to go back, apart from, like I said, if it's a vlogging camera or gimbals. Remember that this is not ideal for vlogging. There's no way that this camera, this is the A7 III, by the way, there's no way this is a good vlogging camera, because when you're vlogging, you just can't see. Now, I could put the HD monitor on it, and I'll grab it and just show you what I mean. So I could just put this onto it, and let me just grab this off and I'll show you exactly how you could use it as a vlogging thing. And I may do this, I'm not sure yet which way I'll go. Just ignore the battery bits, because these are linked to the GH5, and also I've got a Sony one as well. So I could basically turn this around the other way. Oh no, it would have to be that way. Yeah, it's got to face towards me. It's got to face that way. And I have to say that this unit is actually incredibly light. It is incredibly light, but you're still dealing with having to lug around something that's, you know, this size. And And admittedly, like, all these wires don't have to be on there. That, like I said, that was all connected for the battery and all this sort of stuff. There will be a Sony Z battery, I suppose, released eventually to this. There's still no third-party batteries or anything for the Sony system, and I think it's all related to the chips that are built inside the Sony battery. And I did ask someone from Sony the other day about that, and that's probably why they haven't even cloned it at this stage, because of those chips inside the batteries. But so you could use this for vlogging, but like I said, it is an extra bit of gear that you've got to lug around, and it does make it a little bit more awkward than if you're just lugging around a flippable screen, which would just pop out the side and replace this unit that's sitting on top here. So that could be something that they may make that the difference between, say, having your a7 III and, say, this Sony vlogging camera where it has that fold-out screen. Because to be honest, at the moment, I would love to have that feature built into some sort of a Sony camera that I can just go out and do a vlog and be looking at myself to make sure I'm framed correctly. So like I said, there is a solution to that, but you've got to have extra hardware on that. So that could be an area where Sony are going to make that a little bit different. I mean, they can probably improve the autofocus a little bit, but the autofocus already on the a6500 is incredible, and I've never had an issue with the autofocus on that camera. So perhaps they may improve it a little bit. They might perhaps improve the low light, but I wouldn't expect much better low light performance out of an a6500. So I'm starting to think that really the only difference could be something like this fold-out screen and 4K 60p. And like I said, I'd be happy even if that only gave me, a few minutes of 4K 60p, because I'm not going to be running 4K 60p for a very long time. So I'm not worried about overheating. So that could be something that makes me purchase this. But yeah, well, anyway, we'll go back to the questions, because I'm still curious to what you guys have to say as well. Carl said the APS-C will be a hard sell with the a7 III being available, and I agree, Carl. That's the thing that I'm thinking now, that it will be a hard sell. And if you're looking at, say, that being $1,700, which is what I think it would probably be when it's released, it's getting very, very close to what you'd be paying for the a7 III. So they really have to make this camera different to what they're already offering. Otherwise, I don't think anyone's going to purchase it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this fits in the Sony lineup. That's why I'm thinking they have to do something like this articulating screen in 4K 60p. Gerald is saying hi. Wayne is saying good afternoon. Jesse is saying you can shoot APS-C on the a7 III already. Yep, very true. Sony would have to have some amazing features, and yes, they will have to have some amazing features. I did that test yesterday where I'll just show you this image, because you'll just let me bring it up and I'll show you, just to show you how amazing that a7 III is. Where are we? So this image that I put on this morning, in case if you're interested, so this image was done yesterday, and like I said, I'm not looking at this as being an ultimate image. This was a test to see how the a7 III would expose handheld. This was half a second exposure handheld, because I wanted to blur the waterfall at the back of Kiara there. And it actually is an amazing result. Now, this is only JPEG. Once I get the raw file format in Lightroom, I'll be able to manipulate this and make it heaps better than what it actually is now. This is just raw. It's just natural light. I just stood on some rocks facing Kiara, held it, and I did, like I said, it was half a second handheld exposure. And she actually is really quite sharp. I mean, amazingly sharp, to be honest, considering that I was hand-holding that. It was shot with a 55 1.8 lens. I wanted to use that for the day just to see how it went, and I was really happy with how that performed. So stay tuned, and you'll see more about this in the review a little bit later on. But, it really is outstanding, really, when you think that that's being handheld. One other image that I could sort of show you yesterday was with the 70 to 200 was this image down here, that I also shot yesterday. This was when I was trying to use the eye autofocus and things as well. But, you know, it really, like I said, it really is an incredible camera now for what you're getting. Check out the eye autofocus video I posted before this one to see how good the IAF autofocus is. So the a700 or whatever they're going to announce has to have some amazing features to stop people moving over to that full frame. And the full frame is an advantage with things like low light shooting, for instance, and I will do some tests on that as well coming up. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where this actually fits. Fathom Rocker said, I sold my a6500 for the a7 III, and that's what's happening so much that I'm seeing out there at the moment. There are heaps and heaps of people selling their APS-C cameras to get the a7 III. And there's also an awful lot of people also selling their Canon gear as well, more than Nikon, because it's easier to adapt your Canon lenses over. There's a lot of people selling that too. So the a7 III is clearly hurting the marketplace for other people, and it is even probably hurting Sony in the fact that you know that they're not going to sell as many a6300s or a6500s. So yeah, it's interesting, Fathom Rocker, and I agree with that. Carl said a lightly used a6500 would be a great second camera. I'm keeping mine particularly because I like using it on the gimbal, and it also has the Play Memories hacks, which I like as well. Manny, hi Manny, how are you, mate? Yeah, he's set an articulating screen, and I think that's probably going to have to be the thing that they offer on this, because you know there's got to be something. Thanks so much, Rick, too, for the donation there. Yeah, that's an important thing. Like I said, I think really it's probably going to be one of the only things that they're going to offer. I'm not convinced that the A7S III will have an articulating screen, but we're going to have to wait and see what's in that at all. Panda Fasonga says he's out taking long exposure time-lapse videos, so have fun doing that. Where are we? Just jumped, so I lost the spot where I was. Oh, there we go. Rick said this would be Sony's answer to the Fuji Crop. So touchscreen, flip-out screen, even joystick, and I dare say a better menu will be required to absolutely compete. I did notice yesterday using it though that I think the A7 III has probably got the best touchscreen that I've used in the fact that it is very responsive, and I did notice it's definitely better than what the A9 is. There's one bug in the A9, and it really annoys me, is that you can't use the viewfinder. So I can't put the camera up to my face and use the touch screen like that when I'm actually looking through the actual viewfinder. You can with this, and you can with the A7R III, and you can with the A6500, but you can't with the A9, and I don't know why Sony have not allowed that, but I did notice yesterday that the touchscreen is definitely more responsive on the A7 III, and I was very happy with using that. So yeah, but like I said, stay tuned for that, and I'll give more things on that now. I'm not certain that Sony have to compete with with Fuji anymore, because, like I said, if you're dealing with cameras that are priced around the same price range, I have to be honest, I wouldn't be buying an a6700 if it was the same price range as an A7 III. I'd be buying the A7 III. I mean, I'm just being honest with you guys. I told you I always would be. Unless they have something like that flip-out screen that I could really use for that scenario, it probably wouldn't be something that I'd really want to buy. I'd probably get a full-frame camera over that. The advantage always before was that there was a big difference in price and features. JL Studio said, I think it's good for travel. Yes, it is. But you know what? Having said that, this still is not a big camera. It's not a big camera at all, and it's not heavy. It's not compared like lugging around your Nikon or Canon gear, so it's not that bad in that respect. But yes, it still is. The a6500 is still a lighter camera. I agree, and it also is fantastic for gimbals, and that's where I said I use that all the time. Gerald said, don't think I would get enough for my a6500 to upgrade to an a6700, but still this is a great gimbal size camera. Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's where I'm using it all the time. Rick gave a donation. Thank you so much, Rick. David Harrison said, hi David, I've just purchased the a7 III for full frame, so the crop side of things doesn't work for me. Yeah, and a lot of people are doing that now as well. Tony said, where did you get that hood? I think I got it from, I think I got it from B&H. I'm pretty sure, and you need it. The thing is, you actually have to have that, Tony, because if you don't have it, you can't see in... I mean, this is quite good in daylight, but it's still not good enough. So I bought the hood on B&H, and it really does make a difference. It's incredibly light. It's just plastic. But so I leave it on all the time. And I had to wait a while to get it because it was on back order, but yeah, I got it through B&H. It is an original, so it is one directly from Small HD, I think, that's bought through them. Great hood, and it's so light. Rick said, what size memory cards do you use for weddings? And now that you have dual slots, how do you set them? Well, in this one, for instance, on my A9, I've got faster cards, but I don't need that in this camera because I'm only using 10 frames per second. But in this camera, I'm using these. And it is a UHS-2 card. You can see it's got the double slots down the bottom there. So this one is the 128, and it's the 300 megabytes a second card. It's a, well, you can see it anyway there, all the details. Yeah, so that's the one I'm using in slot 1. Now, I'm using that in slot 1 because that's the fast slot that's on the Sony cameras. The second card that I'm using is just this because I'm only shooting JPEG on the second cards. So that's only an 80 megabytes per second. That's just a UHS-1 card. So because I'm just doing JPEG on that card, I don't need a really fast card on that in the second slot. On my A9, because I want that buffer to be running so fast all the time, I'm using the Sony, the fastest Sony cards that you can get. I'm using those on the Sony. Now, the slots you've asked there... the dual slots, basically, and I'm going to take you through the menus. I will take you through the menus very soon because I've set this up now how I like it, so I will take you through in a video about that. But basically, I've got RAW going onto the fastest slots, so it's going onto the slot 1 there. So RAW and video is going onto that slot, and then I'm backing up JPEG onto the second slot. So that's how I'm working my cards at the moment. So I am doing backup, even though I can't edit the RAWs at the moment. I'm still shooting RAW, and then I'm just using the JPEG to show you, to get the images off there at the moment, so I can just have a go at using the camera. So that's how I've set mine up now. RAW on the fastest slot, and video goes onto the fastest slot, and then JPEG, it gets backed up onto the second camera slot. Rick said, at David Harrison, you have already taken delivery of your A7 III. Yes. Who else have we? Chris said, hi Dave, just subscribed to your channel. Welcome, Chris. Nice to see you in here. Marcelo said, maybe something to compete with the D500. And you may be right, there still is a place for a crop sensor. Definitely they can be good for wildlife because of the extra crop factor that's involved. So they can be good in that respect. But remember, most of these cameras now in like the A7R III, you can basically put them into crop mode anyway. But you haven't got the resolution on the A7 III to really do that. It drops down to about 11 or 12 pixels, so it may not be enough for what you want to do in that case. So they may be thinking, yes, we're still going to go down that APS-C line to have that crop sensor there. Marcelo said, kind of A9 sensor would be great. I wouldn't think they're going to do that in that sort of camera, though. What else have we got? David Mossman said, is there any way to get RAW files into Lightroom 6, or do you have to go? No, you can't, David. They're not going to support those programs anymore. So if you do want to be using Lightroom, you have to now go to CC. They've given a fair warning about that over a period of time. If you want to be using Lightroom now, you must go to that, or just use Capture One or one of the other programs that are out there. You can get support for that if you don't want to go onto this subscription-based model. Tom's here as well. Hi, Tom. How are you? DPair3 said, when is the A600 rumour release date? I saw in the second half of 2018. Well, that's what they're saying. Now, Sony Alpha are just saying sometime in 2018. So it could be announced at NAB. You never know. The interesting I saw today, and I'm just going to see if I can find this for you because it was a really interesting rumour. Let me just go back. Let me just bring this up. So you can use Capture One as well if you want to use RAW files. Where did I see it? I just want to bring up how big the actual Sony stand was at NAB. It's massive. They've got to be thinking of something. Here. It's actually saying on this that Sony has the biggest booth at the NAB show. Let's hope there will be a new A7S III. I've been saying all along that I don't think they will announce an A7S III at NAB because it's so close to when the A7 III is announced. But seeing that they've got such a massive stand, I mean, it's bigger than Canon, etc. I'm not even sure where Nikon is. But you look at that, the size of their booth is pretty impressive. So if they're paying for that sort of booth, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to have some sort of an announcement that's going to actually come through. Because you're paying a lot of money to have that sort of space. Now, whether they're just going to be showing things like the A7 III, the A7 III and the video features of that camera, because it actually is very good in video. So whether they're going to be sort of demonstrating that in the A7 III and the A9 in there, and that might be enough for them, as well as their full, their other video-centric cameras, they may have enough. But yeah, it's interesting to see that they're sort of having such a big space at NAB, and it shows how well Sony are actually doing, guys. Let me just come back to questions. Where else are we? Yeah, so they're just saying at the moment, rumoured to be 218. So I'm not sure DPair3 when it's going to be announced yet, but at least the rumours are starting to hit now. It's the first time I've actually seen rumours about this. Jesse said, what's your experience like with the autofocus of the A7 III compared to the A9 with shooting photos? Okay, well, I am going to do a video on that, reviewing it, but just to sort of give a sneak peek about it. The autofocus is definitely still faster on the A9. It's a little bit look, there's not a lot in it, but the autofocus is definitely still quicker on the A9. That's probably to do with the actual sensor is that much faster. But the eye autofocus on the A7 III is better than what the A9 has or any other Sony camera I've ever used. The eye autofocus is incredibly fast, and that's due to that CATIF. If you look at the previous video I've put on there, I've demoed that. You can actually see it working through the viewfinder. So have a check of that video and you'll see how fast that's working. Now, someone said to me, you're only shooting 6.3 or whatever. Look, big deal. Seriously, that was a silly comment because I was shooting at 200mm with that lens, with the 70-200. That was a long way. She was a long way off from me, and the way that is captured, it doesn't look like it in the video, but she was a long way away. The way that it grabbed her eye in that and tracked her all over, even lock-on AF worked incredibly well. So good, in fact, that I would use that for getting a bride walking down an aisle. It really is incredibly fast. The AF is ridiculous how far back it will still cop an eye. Even when Kiara walked in sideways, it was grabbing her eye from the side. Have a look at that previous video and you'll be amazed at how well it was. But I can tell you, I used the 35 1.4 all day and also the 55 1.8. And I was shooting wide open all day, and the eye autofocus is nuts on that A7 III. It is incredible how well the eye autofocus works. And like from a point where you can't really see the eye, she's that far away and it still grabs it. It's incredible. So it certainly is way better than what I thought it would be. I'm just wondering what Sony is going to do with the A7S III. I can just imagine what sort of camera that's going to be with autofocus. I'm sure they'll have to bring that over. Panda Photography said, going to David's house soon. Snapclick said, hello peeps, good to see you here. Gerald said, the Sony UHS 2 cards are on sale now at yeah, there's about $29 or something off. for those cards. So they are a good price card. Let me just see if I can find it. Actually, it might even been in Sony Alpha Rumors this morning. I noticed it was there somewhere. Where did I see it? I could just probably log on to Amazon, but let me just check and just see if it was here. I know I saw it this morning somewhere. They were saying about the prices. Let me go to Amazon. Let's see if it's still on special. It may have even been emailed to me. Sony. Let me see what comes up. Let me go full here. That's the 128. Yeah, there you go. It's that one there is the one that I'm using for my A9. It's a little bit off, $20. So it's a little bit off at the moment. They did this a couple of weeks ago too, I noticed. But that's the one I'm using in my A9 because I need that fastest write speed that I've got. I'm comfortable using the 128 gigabyte cards, especially now that they're backed up to each other. So I'm quite comfortable using that. So that's a great card if you do want to buy what I find is an incredibly fast card that's going to keep up with the buffer. So that's the one I'm using in that case. And they are still on special at the moment, yes. Simple Sound said, hey, Mr. David, greetings from Suriname, South America. Nice to see you in here. Thanks so much for checking in. Snackkick said, now that you're getting rid of your GH5, which lens do you use on the gimbal? Will it be full frame or APS-C? Well, I've sold all the GH5. Boy, did that go quick. The only lens I'm left with now is the 12 to 35, which I'll have to advertise manually, but I just sold the Voigtlander. I'm so sad to let that lens go. I just sold the Voigtlander this morning. So that's all gone now. So the only thing I'm left with here is that 12 to 35 f2.8 version 2. So I'll sell that. So normally on my gimbal, to be honest, the one I'm using is the a6500 and I'm using the 10 to 18. And that's working really well. But yesterday I did... Do you want to see a sneak peek? I can give you a sneak peek of me filming. Now, it'll play a bit slow because I'm just showing it through the viewfinder. Let me see if I can just find one. I'll just show you using it yesterday because I used the 55 1.8. Let me see if I can find one for you and play it. So bear with me a second. I'll see if I can open it up. All right, so let me see if I can reduce this down so you can see the whole thing. So yesterday because I'm going to be using this as part of the review that I'm doing for you guys, so you're sort of seeing a little bit of a sneak peek. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to play on this, but this was using the A7 III yesterday. It had the 55 1.8 on the camera, and I was shooting it at 1.8. I was using center focus because I just wanted it basically to keep focus on Kira walking down the center, and it's shooting in 50p because I'm going to slow this down. So you'll be able to sort of see here when I play it. And like I said, this is just straight off the file, so it's not rendered or anything yet, but that's working great. The gimbal I think is working really nice. I'm really quite happy with it. And like I said, I'll be basically playing that. I've just got too close there. I know it's because I've moved away from the middle. And there's a few of these that I've actually grabbed as well. That's the problem now too, and I'm learning a lot as well when we're doing this. And this is the thing, I've got to learn with where the focus points was. And because it's centered, you can see it's nailed actually over here. So sometimes you've got to be careful if you're using center, and I probably should have tried wide because I think it would have worked. But I only need a few seconds, and I'm probably just going to be using some of these areas, and then you can see as she's starting to walk back. I just thought I'd try and use center on. You'll see as I start to walk that it's holding it quite nicely as she's walking along. And probably I've got a feeling that that camera probably is good enough just to use face detect. But later on, if you look at the video I just posted, and I did that center lock on, that probably is the one I would use, and it would have kept her in focus walking the whole time. Like, I'm learning with this camera now how to use it, but the focus and everything seemed to be fantastic. So I've got a feeling that I could use that A7 II on a gimbal easily, but I think what I'll probably use is the a6500 still, because it's nice and light, with the 10 to 18, or sometimes I can use the 24 1.8 on there as well, which gives you a 35, and I also can use the 55 on there, which gives you an 85 look, just to let you know what I could use in that scenario. What else have we got? Renee said, re-Lightroom, I use a DNG converter and then upload. Yeah, I just can't be bothered, Renee. I mean, I'm just going to wait for Lightroom to bring it out. It'll be out within the next couple of weeks, I would think. Perhaps they're waiting for the US release, so it won't be long. I mean, I'm not in any hurry. The JPEGs are still... I'm still happy enough with just the JPEGs, you know. I mean, the JPEG quality of those images that I actually shot was still really beautiful. I mean, I'm not unhappy with them at all. It's just that I like to underexpose a little bit, and having that recovery back, you know, will give me some wonderful opportunities later on to do some different things. But basically, you know, if we're looking at all of these sort of images, I tried the fast shutter, and I'll take you through all of these results. Let me just reduce this down so you can see it. I will take you all through this when I start to do the review. But you know, it really worked well, and it was very fast. Like I said, it's not the A9, but it's certainly quick enough for nearly everything that I want to do in this respect. And like I said, that these will be altered, because I always, like I said, I want to underexpose a little bit, and you know, and I've done some dancing ones I think will look stunning once I start to manipulate these later on. And that's where basically I was using the fast shutter. I can't get this down small enough, can I? Or yeah, I will be able to. And again, these will be all brightened off and stuff. These are straight out of camera. I've allowed this to be for the raw files that I'm actually getting, so that I can bring the exposure up later on. And you know, you just can't bring up these shadows as much as what I can with the raw files. So it'll be interesting when I start to play around with these images later on. But you know, I think that they're going to be stunning by the time I actually start to manipulate them. And I've just got to wait until, like I said, I can get the raw ones to really do them justice. So it's just a matter of time until, you know, I get them. But I'm really happy anyway with the results that they were. I've used, you know, like I said, all different lenses through the whole day. You know, we're doing ones where I'm using the, that's the 55 1.8 that I'm actually using here. And this is where I've got to sort of develop stuff at the moment, because I know it's misfocus on there. So I'm going to have to try and... There we go. And the problem is too, I've turned noise reduction off as well. This was 1600 ISO because I was doing this all in daylight. And it's nice and sharp, that lens, and I wasn't using a flash. I'm doing everything basically with natural light when you're looking at all of these images. So... you know, I'm really happy with how they look. And like I said, once I start to work the raw, and I can bring in some noise reduction too, where I want to use it. Like I said, I'm still basically learning how the camera works. So these are all just with me playing around with the images. So anyway, we'll wait and see how it is once I look through these images later on. Let me just come back to here. Where are we? Any issues? Not at this stage, but I haven't tested enough for banding. I can tell you though that if you want to go past 30th of a second, you wouldn't want to use electronic shutter. So if you are intending to use anything with electronic shutter, don't use it if you go over 1/30th of a second, because that the sensor's just not fast enough. You will get rolling shutter. I ordered my A7 III in the US on 9th of March, which means I won't be getting it until somewhere in July. It'll come around. I wouldn't want to wait that long though. Mel said, I'm not into the a6700 rumour. The A7 III is not out yet in most countries, including ours. Give it 2 to 3 months now. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, won't it, what's actually happening there. I'd say third quarter of 2018 is a good time to float it around. And where will it fit to with the A7S release? This is the interesting part up. Oh, Nathan, I did see that. I laughed. Nathan said the angry photographer brought you up in his live chat because I told him a review cameras instead of reviewing reviewers. Laugh out loud. I told him to review cameras instead of reviewing reviewers. I did notice he said that, and he said some funny things about me. He called me a wanker, I think. I laughed. And I noticed you said a nice comment and he deleted it. I thought that was hilarious. It really was. Oh, well. He did say in it, though, that he found them funny. But, yeah, I know. I did think it was a bit funny. Mel said, whatever they do, I think they will put the FZ battery on it. Well, that'll be interesting to see whether they can fit that on that camera. That would be interesting. Being larger now, there's also room for 2 X card slots. And like I said, the second they make that bigger, though, I'd just want to go for the A7 III, Mel. So it's hard to know which way what they're gonna do with that camera. Briar said, David Osa, can you talk about a good few lenses for Sony FE that you have experience with which don't break the bank? Well, I'm using all Sony ones. That's probably the problem, so most of them will. I mean, the 35 2.8 is a really good lens. And I love that. That's not a really expensive lens. The other full frame one that doesn't cost a lot is the 28 f2. And that I've had nothing but fantastic reports on that. I've only used that in the store, but it was a nice lens. That's another really good lens. If you really want to then start to save money, well, then you might be better off to go, say, something like Samyang or one of those other brands that really are much cheaper and the quality is still really, really good. So you may be better off to go down that side like Tamyan or Samyang. Go down that way. And also you've got Sigma that are coming up as well too. So it is growing, but you've just got to wait for all those other cameras to release. But you know, the 50 Samyang is meant to have a really good reports. So there's a lot of those out there. There's also a 35 1.4 that you can get now, that, you know, Samyang as well. So there's lots out there that you could get. Mel said, I think they will announce the A7S III first. They need to square off with the GH5 and GH5S. Besides, it's really overdue. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I'd be surprised if the A6700 is announced before the A7S III or whatever that one is. But we do have to wait and see. Peter Kent said, I've the 128GB Sony M cards, the best price and performance. Yeah, they're really good. David said, the 85 1.8. Yeah, that's a really good point, David, and I forgot about that. Bryos, the Sony 85 1.8 is a fantastic lens, and there you go, it's $549.99 US. And he said also there, David said the Samyang 35 1.4 you can find for $580. 2 great lenses, and they're the main lenses I use, 35 and 85. Creative Films is here. David said, yes, that's a good one. How about something wide? Well, the cheapest wide one really that I would probably look at is that 28 f2. If you want something wider, I'm not sure what I'd use over that because I don't have anything that I have used that I can recommend that's wider than that on the Sony. I've got the 16 to 35 f4 Sony lens. I'm using that, but they're not cheap lenses, so someone else may be able to chime in. The 10 to 18 does work well on full frame, and that's cheaper. You can use it from 12 to 16, so you can go down that avenue, and I use that, the 10 to 18 on my full frame camera all the time, and on my a6500 as well. Yeah, wide is for the gimbal use. Well, if it's gimbal use, you're better off to get the 10 to 18, definitely. That's such a good camera, and it's stabilised as well. I'm pretty sure it's stabilised, I think it is. David Johnson said the 28 f2 should be $399. Yeah, and that's a cheap lens for what it is. Peter Kent said, is the 50 1.8 decent, or should I skip it and save for the 55? I love my 55. I mean, I just do love that lens. I haven't used the 50, Peter. Someone else may be able to chime in. Actually, David Johnson did a little bit later on down the chat. He said that the 50 1.8 isn't a bad lens, but the 55 1.8 is sharper and better autofocusing. The 55 for me is the fastest lens that Sony uses for focusing, particularly in low light. That's why I love that lens, and it's tiny. You know, that lens is really small. That's probably why it focuses so quick. Beautiful, sharp. I love it. What else have we got? Snapkick said, David, that's awesome. Looking forward to a review. The reason I asked is because I sold my 10 to 18 in favour of the 12. Well, the 12 to 24 is a beautiful lens. Unfortunately, it's not easy to balance, because it's too heavy. That's the reason why I love that 10 to 18. It is such a tiny lens. And with that, I really like to be using light lenses and light cameras on gimbals, because you know, you get over it pretty quickly. That's like the version 2 crane. Way too heavy for what I'd ever want to use. I just don't want to be lugging around that type of gear. And you don't need it with Sony cameras. David Johnson said, he answered that, yeah, for Peter. Stewed out the angry photographer blocked me. That's funny. I think he blocks anyone that he doesn't like or has a go at him, I think. Ruvian said, keen to see real-world low-light performance compared to the A7R3. Yeah, I'll test it. I'll test it against my A7R2. So we'll just have to see how it goes. That image I showed just before looked a little noisy at 1600, but remember, I've underexposed, guys, so don't look at that. And I'm going to get someone for sure coming into this saying, oh, it was underexposed. Now, I've underexposed because I'm shooting for RAW, and I can add a little bit of noise. Remember, if you're exposing anything with these cameras and you want to get rid of noise, you have to overexpose a little bit or nail the exposure. Those images I showed you before, I've underexposed because I want to bring that detail back, because I've basically exposed for the highlight in the waterfall and stuff. I didn't want to lose that detail. So if you're looking at that later on going, oh my God, they were noisy at 1600, they're not noisy at 1600. They're exposed that way because I underexposed, and I turned all noise reduction off on my camera because I don't like using it. So it's turned off on the camera. So please don't go saying the camera's noisy. It's not. But I will test it fully for you a little bit later on. Ray's here. Hi, Ray. Good to see you in here. What else have we got? The lower 12f 2.8 is good for around 500, yeah, and that probably would be a lovely lens, yeah. Ray Davis said, I like the 50mm, it works great and gets the job done. Exactly. Reuven said, yeah, not to worry, I have the lower 12mm and the 15mm fantastic lenses, yep. I mean, I probably would only buy one of those because they're pretty close in their focal length. I'm talking about the way I shoot, though. But I wouldn't mind a really fast wide-angle lens, and that all those lenses would probably be pretty good. The 28 for me is not fast, is not wide enough for what I want, so I would want something around that 12 to 15 focal length if I was buying a wide-angle prime. What gimbal do you recommend? Well, the Moza Air is probably the best one that I've found at the moment. And that's a really good one. The other one is the Fossey Cam, which I use as well, which is a really good one as well. The video I did yesterday was basically all with a Mozzie Cam, and you'll see that soon anyway, but I really do like the Mozzie Cam, and I'm not sponsored by anyone, guys. No one in that respect is paying me to do reviews, or I'm their ambassador or whatever. I really like that Mozzie Cam that I used yesterday, and I got the remote control working. I'll show you that in the next live video that I do or something. But Moza, yeah, it's this one. I'll show you. Let me just see if it's... Can I get to my affiliates? And I'll show you. Which ones I recommend. The only thing is, the only thing I get is if you purchase it through here, I just get the affiliate purchase. Now, are they in? Yeah, they're here. I'll show you. Let me go full on here. The one I like using, I've still got to review this one, the one that the Fossey Cam, that's just the handheld gimbal. But I use this one, which is the Moza Air Cross. That's the one. And did I put the Fossey Cam in here? I don't think it was available yet for, no, it wasn't available at the time, so it's not in here. I'll have to add that. But this one here is a really good gimbal, really good gimbal. And it comes with a fantastic remote control. So that's the one that I used yesterday, and I really like it. It's $4.19. It has amazing features all built into it. It's got 12 hours runtime. It comes with the spare batteries, and I've just bought a separate pair of that. But what I love about it, it actually comes with the Arca Swiss adapter that you can put directly on the plate, because I like using Arca Swiss, and it's got that directly on it. I really like this gimbal. It's really nice to use. It does a self calibration, so you don't need to have it connected to the phone or whatever to do that. It'll calibrate itself to the weight. It can memorize cameras, different cameras, and it has amazing features internally in the camera where you can do time lapses and all different things. But yeah, it's really good. So that's the one I've got. But if you go to my affiliates link page, you'll find it. It's always in the description will be down below, and it's all the gear I use. Just click on that and you can see the gimbal that I use there. So that's the one I'm using at the moment. But like I said to you, I only talk about what I've purchased. So, I'm not talking about anything that I haven't got. The reason why I didn't buy the crane, because I like the other features that had, the self-balancing that it had in when you put it on, it vibrates and calibrates itself. So I like that feature with it. And plus I love the remote control because it mimics what you're actually doing. And it seems to be really good. And I just like the way it works. So I bought that one, yeah. What else has people said? That's the gimbal that I used. Peter said I would say the 55 1.8 and the 28 f2 with 20mm wide converter. Yeah, because you can buy the converters for that 28mm. There's a really wide one, I think, and there's another one as well that's good. How is the IQ out of the converters? I'm not sure because I haven't used those converters to let you know. Peter may be able to answer that. Reuven said, note the lower lenses are manual focus. Yep, doing that doesn't bother me at all. If it's something I can be more control in, having manual focus doesn't worry me, particularly with wide angle, remember, because with wide angles, nearly everything's in focus anyway. So yeah, having manual focus with that wouldn't worry me at all. Ghost Crown Medicine said, would you rather use a 70-200 f2.8 or the 135 f2.8? Well, to be totally honest with you there, I'd probably prefer to use a 135 f2.8 because I just love prime lenses. But I don't use the 70-200 much at all. But I did use it yesterday in the shoot. If I need compression, I'll use it. But I wouldn't buy... Personally, I would not want a 135. Let me rephrase that actually. If I was using the 135 2.8 or the 70-200 2.8, I'd probably buy the 70-200 because they're both 2.8. If Sony brought out the 1.8 135, that's a different beast. I would probably prefer to use the 135. Now, Sigma are going to release one, so I probably would buy that, but I'm sure Sony will also bring one out as well. But 135, I would love to have at f1.8. Then there's a difference. So if they were both at 2.8 like that, yes, I'd probably, if I could only afford one, I would buy the 70-200 f2.8. But I must admit, the 135 f2.8 Batis is lovely and light, so that could be an advantage. But it's pretty expensive for that lens, even with 500 off at the moment. I still think that's overpriced, that lens, at 2.8. Peter said, I've been interested in that Moza single-handed gimbal. Yeah, it's great, Peter. I love it. I think it's a really good gimbal. What else have we got? Shakru said, do you really have no deal? No, I haven't. I'm not sponsored by anyone. If not, their marketing department needs to get in touch with you fast. You are one of their best salesmen. Look, I'm probably too politically correct for those sort of guys. I say things as they are, and I would just tell you the truth. So no, I'm not sponsored by anyone. The only thing I've had sent recently was Fossicam. They sent me that little gimbal to review. Which I haven't done yet. I'll still have to try and do that. They've sent me that for free, basically, because I said I'd love to try it for you guys. But no, I'm not sponsored by anyone at all. No one. So I suppose I'm a little bit different like that than most YouTubers. The other thing for me is all my shoots that you see too are paid shoots. So they're always people that's paid. Kiara didn't pay me yesterday for the shoot that I did with her yesterday because I was testing the camera. There's no way I'm going to do a test shoot where I haven't done used the camera at all before and charge someone for that. That's unethical. But Kiara has paid me for other shoots before that you will have seen her in. So I just asked her if she'd be interested to come out and let me shoot her. So I did do that yesterday with Kiara. I asked her to come along. And she came along with her mum as well, which was great. And so we did that for her yesterday. But nearly all the other shoots that you see are paid shoots. But yeah, I'm certainly not sponsored by Sony at all. I am to Brown said, hi all, hit the like button. Oh, thanks so much for that, Tony. Jeffrey said, hi David. Almost miss all your live tube shows. Just happy today to receive my A7R3. Woohoo! Got it. What a fantastic camera that is. The A7R3 is an amazing camera. I probably would still get that if my A7R2 fails. I probably would still get that camera because I do like having that resolution for when I need it. Mel said, David Osa, you're a liar. You are sponsored by Corona Beer. Now, that's one I'd love to be sponsored by. If anyone wants to sponsor me by beer, I'll love that. But you know what? I love drinking different beers, so I'd probably be no good in that respect either. Gerald Williams said, have you heard when the Sigma Art 72.8 macro is going to be released and priced? No, I haven't. Like I said, I'd love to try that 105 as well. That 105 f1.8, I'd love to try that lens on a portrait session. You know, that would be one I'd love someone to send me just so I could have a review. Not sure if I buy it, but you know, you never know. I vote more Kiara. Yeah, Kiara's lovely. She's a lovely girl. A really, really nice girl. Wait till you see some of the photos when I do post them in the video. She was stunning in that. So, yeah, she's just a great, great girl. So is there any last questions before we finish for the day? Remember, too, that I will post that sort of mini review of the Sony A7. You'll sort of see how it works in video and how it's worked for stills on me. And I was just trying a few different things, so I'll talk about all the advantages in that review. And then I'll probably review it with the differences, say, compared to the A9. Because I'd like to talk to you about that as well in the coming time, in the coming weeks as well. And obviously I'll be trying different things for you as well, like how does it focus in low light, what is the noise like, and things like that. But it's very hard for me to sort of show you noise in the respect that I do always underexpose things and then pull them up. You know, and that's the way that I tend to work, and that's why I'm saying someone will say for those other images, oh, they're a bit noisy. I know they're going to say that, but you got to remember that's JPEG with no noise on it all, and they were underexposed, so naturally, there was going to be noise there. If they're exposed correctly, you wouldn't see it. So no last. Oh, do I use screen protectors? Yes, I put one on immediately, guys. I bought it, and I always put this on straight away. So that has the glass screen protector on it. It really is a must, and it works great. Doesn't affect the touch screen at all. I buy those straight away whenever I buy a camera. It's the first thing I'll put on because the screens can get damaged, and you know, if you put that on, you're never ever going to have an issue. I did on the A7R3 put on a one of the cheaper plasticky ones, and that peeled off. Whereas I've never had a problem with these glass ones. These are much better. So pay a little bit extra to get the glass ones on, not just the plastic covers. These are fantastic. And like I said, they don't affect the touch screen or anything. Really good. Well, that's about all. I think just cracked my screen. Yeah, you've just cracked it, so get it replaced. Yeah, like I said, you're always better off to put a decent screen protector on these things, you know, rather than trying to keep them on for a longer period of time. All right, guys, so I'm going to log off, and I'll talk to you again soon. Like I said, stay tuned for the review that will come up. And, you know, I'm basically, I can't wait to share that with you. From the looks of the video files that I've done so far, it worked fantastic. And I'm still learning how to use it. Like I said, a couple of spots I think I probably should have used wide area or something like that rather than center. But overall, I'm really happy with how it went. Make sure you check in the previous video. Have a look at that focusing, because it is amazing if you check my previous video. Any other questions, leave those down below. I do always make sure I get back to everyone. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, guys. It's fantastic. I'm putting tasks on there for you all. I go on live on there as well. So make sure you join us on the Facebook group as well. It's the Photography Videography School. That's all for now, guys. Bye for now. And I'll catch you all again soon later. I think it's beer o'clock. See you guys. Have a great Easter.